Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yay. Say yes to what works. So this Labor Day month, we are taking a fresh look at creating a life that works without all of the hard work and the hard labor. And as we've said each week, that when we live from certain spiritual principles, apply certain spiritual practices, and then leave the rest to who? The divine, leave the rest to God, right? Life can really work, even in those moments when it doesn't look like it is working. We've collectively defined a life that works. We all got together and talked about this the Sunday that Suzanne was here. And a life that works is one in which we feel deeply connected to Source, that we have dynamic, vibrant, and radiant health because we want to be able to enjoy this life, right? That we are in the flow financially, that what we need comes to us when we need it. Capital C, coincidences, we know there's no such thing. They just happen. We call them ordinaries, right? They're not miracles, they're ordinaries. Yeah, of course, life works out. We have solid, loving relationships, people we can depend on. We are at peace and we are happy. We are joyously sharing our talents and gifts because it's so much fun to be able to do what it is you love to do and have someone else be so grateful for it. We love the work that we do. We are serving and giving others. We are serving and giving to others. And we see that this life that works, not only for ourselves, but we see that this life works for all of humanity because we want everyone to experience this. We want all humanity everywhere. The focus of our time together this morning is, what are you saying yes to in your life? And it may surprise you to know that you say yes to a lot of things that actually make your life more challenging, more difficult, and more work than you want. Why is that so? Well, as our opening song says, once you say yes, God does the rest. And while the song absolutely encourages us to trust Source, remember, trust is our third thing that we do to create a life that works. To trust Source, to take care of the rest when we plant seeds of positive intention, but because the law is neutral and doesn't judge what it is we put into it, it also says yes to what we don't want. So, if we give a strong yes to anything, the law will do the rest. I've often heard the law described as electricity. You can cook a meal with it, or you can cook a man. Just depending on how you use it, right? The law is neutral. It's how we use it that makes all of the difference. So today, we will say yes to 4 ideas that work, W-O-R-K, together to create a life that works with a lot less work. So, we're going to begin with W for word power. Okay. Maybe. There we go. W for word power. There's a great, great power in words. In fact, there's a lot of books on the power of your word, right? Particularly holy words. Let me give you an example. A businessman was in a great deal of trouble. His business was failing. He had put everything that he had into this business, and he owed everybody. He owed for his home, his car, all of his personal possessions. They were all in jeopardy. It was so bad that he just didn't think he could go on. And as a last resort, he went to a local minister. Why is it always the last resort? But that's another story. Okay, he went to the local minister and poured out a story of tears and woe. And when he'd finished, the minister said, "Here's what I want you to do. Put a beach chair and your Bible in your car and drive down to the beach. Take your chair and the Bible to the water's edge. Sit down in the chair, put the Bible in your lap, and just sit there for some time. Allow your mind to clear. Just sit and absorb the beauty of God's earth for a while. And then once you are calm and serene, open the Bible and let the wind turn the pages. Eventually the Bible will come to rest on a page. Look down at the page and read the first thing that your eyes fall upon. Trust that the words you read are your answer. Trust that in that instant God is speaking to you directly and telling you what to do. And have the strength and fortitude to do whatever you are guided to do." And with that advice, the businessman left. Almost a year later, he went back to the minister. This time he brought his wife and children with him. The man was dressed in a new custom-tailored suit. His wife was dripping in jewels, and the children were shining. The businessman pulled an envelope stuffed with money out of his pocket and gave it to the minister as a thank you for his advice the year before. The minister recognized the benefactor and was curious. "You did as I suggested?" he asked. "Absolutely," replied the businessman. "You went to the beach?" "I did." "You sat in a beach chair with a Bible in your lap?" "Yes." "You let the wind turn the pages until they stopped?" "You betcha." "And you looked down and knew that the first words you saw were your answer?" "Yep," he said. "And then you took action based on those words?" "I surely did." "Well, keep me in suspense no longer. What were those first words?" Chapter 11. Okay. So, bum. Okay, there's tremendous power in words, and perhaps not those words, okay? But the truth remains, words are the most powerful agents of the mind. We speak in New Thought a lot about change your thinking, change your life. But did you know that science suggests that we have about 60,000 thoughts running through our minds every single day? That's a lot of thoughts to try to change, isn't it? And add to the fact that a good deal of them hang out below the level of our conscious awareness. So that can get a little tricky. How about if we start with what we are conscious of? And those are the words that actually come out of our mouths. It's actually easier to shift your words than it is your thoughts, and your thoughts will follow your words then. Most of us are pretty conscious of the words that come out of our mouths, yes? Well, most of the time. Sometimes I'll say something and I think, did I just say that? You know, and was I thinking that, or did that actually come out? But most of the time, I think it before I say it. So if I can keep it from coming out of my mouth, I know I can stop myself or cancel it. That was Terika Whitaker, I think, who said, cancel, cancel. And so those come in. Sometimes I say that. So we do say a lot of stuff unconsciously. Unconscious to the fact that our words are creating our life, and that's what it is we need to remember here and today. I love the words from Florence Scovel Shinn in The Game of Life and How to Play It. All the good that is to be made manifest in our life is already an accomplished fact in divine mind. Wow. Wow. And is released through our recognition or spoken word, so we must be careful to decree only the divine idea be made manifest, for often we decree through our idle words failure or misfortune. So let's stop decreeing failure and misfortune and decree a life that works. In This Thing Called You, one of our absolute favorite books by Ernest Holmes, he writes, "When the time comes that nothing goes forth from you other than that which you would be glad to have return, then you will have reached your heaven." Isn't that great? That is so great. When the time comes that nothing goes forth from you other than that which you would be glad to have return, then you will have reached your heaven. Those are good words to live by. Heaven, that sounds like a life that works, doesn't it? There's an old saying that if we take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. And it's the same with our words. Baby steps, right? Start small. If we take care of the relatively few words that we speak each day, the 60,000 thoughts in our mind will shift. So a recent note from the universe that I read was, "Psst, not that you ever would, but when someone tells their best friend about their difficult day or how tricky relationships have been, or that they have a jolly good life in most regards except financially, not only do they relive the unpleasantness, but they commission all the elements to project into their future whatever they've been claiming. Besides, you'd never say jolly. It's just better to whisper sweet nothings." Signed, the universe. So, the first thing we want to say yes to is words that affirm and confirm a life that works. So second is O. And our look at O is going to be a bit of a review for some of you, maybe new to others, from last month. but it's really powerful, and that's why we're going to revisit it. O is the one thing. The one thing. One Sunday last month, we explored the book entitled The One Thing. Everybody remember that? Who was here for that? Maybe? No? Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. And on that Sunday, you were invited to ask yourself a powerful question. Does anybody remember what that question was? This is almost a month ago. I know. It's a long time. The question is, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So powerful. Asking this question causes us to focus our hearts and our minds to this now moment. And I have to tell you, I have a golden retriever mind. I am easily distracted. I'm one of those that walk into a room and I'm bent, I'm doing something, but I see something else and it leads me here, and oh my gosh, I'm all over the house. So what is the one thing I can do to accomplish that goal, to make my life easier, or make it, whatever it is, unnecessary? Asking this question causes us to focus, as I said, our hearts and our minds to this now moment. And this now moment is where God resides, because God is in the now, the present. Charles Fillmore wrote in Talks on Truth, "Let us live in God's world, not a world to be tomorrow, next month, next year, or next century, but here and now. God's beautiful universe is all about us, only awaiting our acknowledgement of its presence. Let us know God and live with love and joy, health and peace here and now." Asking the one thing question brings us in alignment with where we need to be to live with God's love and joy, health and peace here and now. But let me ask you this. How many of you are multitaskers? Yeah, we've been sold a bill of goods on that one, right? We pride ourselves in our ability to multitask. We can read Facebook and watch a movie, right? We can all these things. It makes us so much more efficient. We get so much more done in less time. Or do we? Research suggests that extra time that it takes to switch back and forth from one thing to the next can range from between an additional 25% to an additional 100% or more, depending on the complexity of the tasks that we are performing. In The One Thing, the authors write, poet laureate Billy Collins once said this about multitasking. "We call it multitasking, which makes it sound like an ability to do lots of things at the same time. But a Buddhist would call this the monkey mind." We think we're mastering multitasking, but really we're just driving ourselves bananas. So stop driving yourself bananas and making life more work by saying yes to the one thing question applied to whatever you are doing in the moment. Here are some examples of focusing questions within the context of different areas. For your spiritual life, what's the one thing I can do to deepen my connection with Source, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? For your physical health, what's the one thing I can do to achieve my greater health and vitality, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Wow, right there, I think, get up early and take a walk every day. Every day. For your key relationships, what's the one thing I can do to show more love to my partner or spouse, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Take that few moments without the cell phones in front of you, to have a conversation, to be on the same page, to actually connect. It makes a big difference. At your job, what's the one thing I can do right in this moment that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Like maybe all my filing that's stacking up. For your finances, what's the one thing I can do to support my financial freedom such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So now we have two of the qualities that work together to create a life that works with a little less work. They are word power and the one thing. And that takes us to R and K, which actually work together very well. R, we're going to start with R, which stands for something so basic that is so fundamental that I wish the word work started with the word R, because that would be a good place to start. Do you remember in our list that constitutes a life that works, what was the first thing on it? What was the first thing on our list? That we feel deeply connected to Source. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be provided to you. The first thing is that relationship. Our R stands for a relationship with God. How is your relationship with God, Spirit, the universal mind? How is that relationship? Are you and God good? Are you good? Are you really, really good? Okay. If not, I can guarantee your life is not working like it could. And so here's the question. What is the one thing you could do to deepen your relationship with Source, such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? Ooh, ponder that question. I can think of a few things. Reading The Science of Mind first thing when you wake up. Taking some moments in quiet solitude to meditate. Chanting. There's so many ways you can connect. Standing on the earth and feeling the grounding and knowing that you are divinely supported. So many practices. Pick one. Pick one that works for you. Ponder that. As we dovetail into our final letter, which is K, which is knowing. Knowing who and whose you are. Knowing God to the best of your ability. Knowing your oneness with God. Knowing your right to abundance and flow. Knowing you are love and you deserve love. Great affirmation. I am loving and I am lovable. Complete that circle. Complete that circle. Knowing the pattern of divine perfection that resides in your core. Sometimes we can't stand in the knowing when we are faced with a challenge. That's when other people can support us. People in our teaching who can know the truth of your being when it's a challenge for you to remember. Practitioners, that's what they're trained to do. Ministers, who are all practitioners as well. And me, call me. If you need someone to know the truth for you when you are having a struggle doing it, don't make me the last person that you get to, like that gentleman who needed to go to the beach and look at the Bible, right? I have prayer partners who know the truth for me when I am struggling, because believe it or not, I have struggles. I'm still human. And I call them up and they know the truth for me. They cut through all of it and they know the truth and they help me get right back on track. Did you know, and I don't know if you know this or not, that when you finish your coursework, when you're studying to be a practitioner, you cannot become a practitioner until you have 3 letters from people that you have done affirmative prayer for and treated for, who have had substantial demonstrations. They have to write you letters of recommendation saying, I went to this practitioner for a treatment and this is what I needed treatment for and this is what happened. So you're going to someone who's a professional, who's been trained to know how to do this. So if you want to create a life that works without all of the hard work, remember W for word power. Your words have that tremendous power, so let nothing pass from your lips that you don't want to have returned into your life. Let's change that to be, I only let words pass from my lips that I gladly, joyously, and eagerly welcome back into my life. That really sounds like a good affirmation, doesn't it? Let's make it one. Let's say this together. I only let words pass from my lips that I gladly, joyously, eagerly welcome back into my life. So it is. All right, so, the one thing. Focus on that one thing by asking the one thing question. Say it with me. It should be easy. Okay? What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? All right. R, our relationship with God or Spirit. Make sure that your relationship with Spirit is good. Really, really good. Say, my relationship with God is good.
My relationship with God is good.
Really, really, really good.
Really, really, really good.
Because, and this is the K, the knowing, I know who and whose I am.
I know who and whose I am.
So when we work in harmony with those ideas, our lives will definitely work, and they will work well, and with less work. And so it is.